Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, and welcome to Tuslo TV. Thank you so much for joining us on this Friday afternoon, and happy Friday, happy weekend. Hi, Teresa. Thank you for joining. So let's get started. For those, I know there's a lot of familiar faces probably online. But for those who are new, hi, Mikhail. For those who are new tonight, just want to take you guys through some of the steps or some of the introduction, so you can have a really good, positive learning experience. So if you are experiencing any technical problems, we had some technical problems during my last session, but please just chat through if you are experiencing any problems. Can just drop me a chat, tell me if you're having problems seeing me or hearing me. If you can all see me okay, you can drop me a message as well and just tell me everything's a-okay. And then during our session, if you have any questions, please feel free to pop them through. Don't be shy. I'd like to interact with you guys. So if you have any questions, just chat them through, and I'll try my best to answer them for you. And join in, have fun. So for those who haven't met me, I see there's a few familiar faces, but for those who haven't met me, I'm teacher Rudel from South Africa, and our topic tonight is at the post office. So this is a social English webinar session. The session will last roughly about 30 minutes, and there will be a Q&A period towards the end. So if you have any questions, you can ask them during our session, or you can pop them through towards the end of our webinar. I'll give you an opportunity to ask your questions. Then we're also going to have our 2 poll questions at the end. If I can just ask you guys to stay on for 1 minute just to answer 2 questions for us so that we can know how we can improve on our webinar sessions. So let's have a look. What are we going to discuss tonight? So today we're going to learn useful vocabulary related to the post office. And then we're also going to learn some useful phrases that you'll probably use and hear at the post office. Okay, so let's start with our vocabulary. Welcome, Lucas. Okay, but before we get to our vocabulary, I want to get an idea of when last has anyone been to the post office. So when was the last time you actually went to the post office? I would say you can just pop through. Maybe you could say like a week ago or a month ago or maybe a year ago. I think the last time I went to the post office, I actually can't even remember. It's probably been about 3 years ago. I went through to the post office. So when last did you go to the post office? See if you guys can remember. You can just maybe say roughly when you can remember, if it's a very long time ago. Oh, Teresa went yesterday. That's impressive, Teresa. The other guys, Lucas, don't remember. I'm the same. I can't remember when last I went to the post office. I think it was probably about 3 years ago. Okay, so it looks like some people frequent the post office and some people not so much. Anya says, I do it regularly because of post crossing. Okay, thank you, Anna. They said before Easter, so this year still. Okay, so some people still do go to the post office. Okay, thanks so much. Now, do you think the post office, now I'm asking, I think Teresa looks like she goes there quite often. Some other people don't go there often as well. So, do you think the post office is still needed when we have email? Yes or no? What would you say? Do you think we still need the post office, even if we have email? Yes or no? Hi, Slavik. Thank you for joining. So Teresa thinks we probably don't need the post office anymore. Lucas says we probably might still need the post office. And further on in our webinar session, I'm going to show you guys sort of the follow up on this answer. So my view is probably we still do need the post office. There's very specific circumstances when we do need a post office. So we might not need a post office to send messages like email, but sometimes we do need the post office. So I'm going to show you guys just now why we might need it. Anya says, yes, for about 5 years, then I don't think. Okay, good, Anya. So maybe for another 5 years, and then the post office would become obsolete. Now, there's a great vocabulary word for you. Obsolete means it is not needed anymore. Okay, so let's look at our vocabulary. So some of this relates to the post office, some of this relates to post and post deliveries. So our first word is courier. Now, he says yes, because no one in Poland uses email. Now, a courier is someone that delivers either post, can be very important, post or parcels. Parcels are small boxes. Um, Couriers can also deliver envelopes, so very important envelopes, or big boxes. So, say for example, you would like to send a gift to a friend in another city. You could courier the gift. So what happens is you package in a box, depending what the size is, and then you contact a courier to come and collect it from your location, and then for a fee, they will deliver it to the address that you chose. And usually it's, depending on how far it is, usually their delivery is quite quick and can take maybe 1 or 2 days. Slavik, a very valid point. Just getting back to if we need post offices or not. So Slavik says some older people cannot deal with new technology. So maybe we still might need, but then again, Anya says maybe in 5 years' time, the younger generation won't see the need for a post office anymore. Thanks, Slavik. Okay, right. Our next phrase is pickup. So often what might happen is in the past, when I can remember from post offices, when a post office receives a big package, they'll often, in my country, I'm not sure if it works the same in Poland, but I assume it works the same worldwide. So if you've received a big parcel or a big box, then often you'll receive a slip in your post, which indicates you need to go to the local post office. They usually tell you which post office to go pick up your parcel or to collect. So collect or pick up is probably two good synonyms that we can use. So you go to the post office to go collect or pick up your parcel. Now, this is something that I haven't used in a very, very long time. And we call this a postcard. I'm sure you are familiar with the word postcard. It's a very old traditional way of sending someone a message. Now, I think it's quite a very sort of unique way. I think these days people should try. If you go travel, if you go to a new country and you may be on holiday, then a very thoughtful way, instead of sending an email, is to try and find a postcard and actually send a postcard to a friend of yours. Um, it has so much more meaning, and you can just imagine if you receive a postcard from someone. I think it's a very, very special way of sending someone a message. Anyone can just jump on an email and send an email, but sending a postcard is a very thoughtful, old traditional, sort of creative way of sending a message. Our next phrase is return address. Now, when it comes to post, when it comes to any type of post, It can be a parcel, it can be an envelope, a large envelope, small envelope. Generally, there'll be two addresses. So the one address, for example, on a postcard or on a letter, the postcard generally on the front would be the recipient address. So that is the person who needs to receive the letter. Then on the back, usually on the top flap that closes down, that sort of folds over, you will see another address. And generally, this is where you would put the return address. So, in other words, if the letter gets posted to the recipient and for some reason it gets either lost or the recipient isn't available or doesn't receive it or collect it, after a while it gets sent back to the person who sent the letter originally. So it gets sent back to the return address. Our next word is dispatch. Now, dispatch sort of works hand in hand with a courier. So what happens is when a package arrives at a courier head office, for example, or a courier factory, it needs to be dispatched to the delivery address. And usually this is at a dispatch center. So all the packages, all the envelopes, everything arrives at the dispatch center, and then it gets dispatched to the relevant address. And the reason they do this, if you can imagine, so say for example, the dispatch center receives 100 parcels every day or 1,000 parcels every day, and they've got one courier guy who needs to deliver in a specific area. It makes a lot more sense to sort of group all the items, all the postcards, all the boxes that needs to go into the one area with the one courier guy. And this is what happens at the dispatch center. They make sure that all the parcels that goes to a certain area gets dispatched together. Now, another word that you probably haven't seen, or phrase that you probably haven't seen in a long time that goes with the postcard, is a postage stamp, or you could just call it a stamp. Now, a stamp, a lot of people actually collect postage stamps, and I think there's quite a lot of value if someone started collecting 30, 40 years ago. Some of these stamps are very, very valuable, especially if they've been looked well after. So what is a stamp? Now, a stamp was used, or probably still is used. I actually don't know if people still use stamps. Stamps are used as a form of currency when you posting or sending a letter or postcard to someone. So say, for example, you want to send a letter to your friend who stays in the nearby city that's maybe an hour away or 2 hours away. Then you would go to the post office and you would ask them, how much does it cost to post the letter to the specific city? They will say to you, it probably costs about, let's just say in my currency, I would say it probably costs about 10 Rand, or you could say €1, depending on what the currency is. You would then buy postage stamps to the same value of how much it costs to send it to that specific address. So in other words, if you had to buy, I'm just going to use my currency. So if I had to buy 50 Rands worth of stamps, I might buy 5 stamps that are all worth 10 Rand. So that's how postage stamps, or that's how you used to sort of pay to post an item to an address. Our next word is airmail. So airmail is just in the old days, it was a really fancy way of sending letters because it was almost like a priority delivery method. So before our courier systems became so efficient, in the old times, When you used to send a letter by post, it actually used to be delivered by road. So a truck would actually drive from one city and go and deliver it in another city. But if you had a very important letter that had to get there very quickly, you could pay an additional fee and actually have it deliver via airmail. So it's almost like priority courier, the fastest way to get it to your destination. Our next phrase is drop off. Now, similar to pick up or collect, you can also drop off a parcel that can be posted somewhere or a letter that can be posted somewhere. So you might go to the post office and then drop off a letter or a box or parcel that you would like to post to a destination. So it's literally just going to a place and asking someone or sending it off to another place by dropping it off at the post office. Now, I'm sure you've seen this sticker before on a few boxes, especially when you're buying, say, for example, you're purchasing a new TV, or you're purchasing maybe what can be fragile. You can purchase a new computer. Um, and generally, when things get posted, or when things get couriered, say, for example, the TVs are produced or manufactured in China, then obviously they need to send it to a different destination. It might go to Poland. Then it needs to be packaged in a box and then sent via courier, or the company might actually just rent a freight or freight the actual item through to a different country. But on the box, they'll put a fragile sticker, meaning that the box needs to be handled with care. So a fragile sticker just indicates that there's something in the box that can break easily or can be easily broken. Now, remember, I spoke about the addresses before. So here you can see on the front, this is an example of a recipient address. So the person receiving the letter or receiving the parcel, you call the recipient or receiver. Then the address on the back would be the return address, or you could call it the sender's address. So the person collecting the letter is called the recipient or receiver. The person sending it, easy enough, is called the sender. Okay. Now, I don't know when last you've seen one of these. I haven't actually seen a post box in a very, very long time. So a post box, and this is the reason why you had to purchase stamps to put on a letter, because in the old days there was no one to sort of check to see, right, have you paid? Have you paid to actually send this letter to a different city or to a specific address? So what would happen is you would write your letter, then put it in an envelope, then write the recipient's address on the front, write the sender's address or return address on the back, then go to the post office and find out how much it costs to send to a specific address or location, purchase that amount of stamps, stick it onto the envelope, and then just pop it into the post box. And then every day, the postman or post office would come and collect all the post from the post box and check to make sure that all the letters had adequate amount of stamps, so that they could be sent to their address. And that is why they used stamps in the old days. Now, these days, another word or a different meaning for postbox could be a personal post box. So when you collect your post, say you've got a house, and some houses have sort of post boxes in front of the house where the postman come in, delivers the post. You could also rent. These days, there's a lot of places where you could sort of rent parcel lockers or post boxes from a certain location. So every month you pay a fee, and just to have a location where, or an address, recipient address where people can send your post to. Now, the reason why this is important um, is a lot of companies, say for instance, you've opened an account, like a clothing account. These days, people send it to your email address, but in the past, every month they would send it to your post address. You've also probably heard of the phrase PO box. It basically means your post box. Okay, so let's have a look at a few phrases that you could probably hear at the post office, or probably use at the post office. So at a post office, you don't just get stamps. You don't just buy stamps or send letters or receive letters. These days, post offices sort of had to adapt because of technology to try and offer more than just a service that sends and receives letters or parcels. So these days, you'll find a lot of things that you could probably buy at a post office. So what you could say is you could have the following question and ask, uh, do you sell postcards? So you could ask someone at the post office, do you sell postcards? So if you want to send a postcard. Some of them sell birthday cards. So you could say, do you sell birthday cards? Or even Christmas cards. I think a lot of post offices have sort of taken on the role of almost a stationery shop. So here's another great word to learn tonight: stationery. A stationery shop. Now, a stationery shop is someone that sells pens, pencils, postcards, birthday cards, notepads, any kind of item that you might use in an office to write with, or to work with. So Anya says she will buy a lot of postcards and maybe some Christmas cards. Soon it's time to start buying some Christmas cards. So, what might be a very good idea, but you'll have to plan it carefully because Christmas is around the corner, is maybe finding a place that sells a lot of Christmas postcards, and instead of buying a gift, you could probably buy a gift and send a postcard. Why not send a postcard, a Christmas postcard, to some of your friends and family? I think it's quite a special way of wishing them Merry Christmas. Okay, then a next phrase that you might ask is, how much will it cost to send this letter to? So obviously, when you want to send a letter to a different address or to a different city, you need to know how much it will cost. So you will ask the person, how much will it cost to send this letter to, and then give the location. So you could say a city name. If it's within your city, you would probably say the area. So again, how much will it cost to send this letter to, and then give the address. The next sentence is, or question is, can you put it on the scales, please? Now, when you're sending large parcels, whether you're sending it by post office or if you're sending it via courier, often they charge you according to the weight and the size. And there sometimes are limitations to what the weight might be. And this is why you need to measure your parcel or your package before you send it. So you could ask someone, can you put it on the scales, please? So they put it on the scale to measure what the weight would be of your package or parcel. Now, before, in the beginning of the webinar session, I mentioned that according to my view, we still do need the post office for some very important reasons. And the reason for this would be if you would like to send a recorded delivery or a special delivery. Now, a recorded delivery means that a signature is required on delivery. Now, often what would happen in legal instances is, say, for example, you have a letter which you would like to send, or often lawyers do it like this as well. If there's a letter that you need to send to someone, but you need to prove that they have read the letter. So legally, you need to make sure that they have received the letter. Say, for example, you want to send an invoice to someone renting a property from you. You could send it by recorded delivery, which means that when the recipient receives the letter, they actually have to sign for it, meaning there's proof that they've received it. So if you don't receive payment for the invoice, you could always take the person to court and say, right, the person received the invoice. I have proof that they signed for it through recorded delivery. So you could ask the question, I'd like to send this letter by recorded delivery. Or you could give the instruction, rather, I'd like to send this letter by recorded delivery. You could also ask someone to send something by special delivery. In other words, you could say, I'd like to send this letter by special delivery. This means it's almost guaranteed next day delivery, and it comes with compensation for loss or damage. In other words, if the letter gets lost, it's almost like having insurance. You'll be compensated, or if there's damage to it, you'll be paid back for it. This is usually when you want to send very valuable goods. My mother once sent me a piece of jewelry from her shop, and she sent it on special delivery. In other words, whatever the value was of the jewelry, she sort of insured it for that value. So if it goes missing, they would pay her out and she can just replace it. So you've already learnt the word postbox. So another question you could ask, a very easy one, is where's the postbox? So once you've got your letter with your stamps, you just need to pop it in the post box. Every post office has one post box, so you could just ask them, where's the post box? If you've received the slip, so remember I mentioned you might receive a slip to indicate that you need to go collect a parcel, you can walk into a post office and say, good morning, I've come to collect a parcel. And then you just provide your slip and they'll go in the back at dispatch and try and find where the parcel is. Right, so those are our phrases for tonight. I hope you guys learned some interesting things. A lot of these phrases, a lot of these sentences, a lot of these sort of procedures we don't use anymore, and it's a bit of a pity because it was a very special way of communicating. But with life becoming so fast these days, we communicate by email mostly. But I think everyone should maybe try and challenge yourself. See if you can pop into a post office maybe over the weekend or sometime in the next 2 weeks and go find some postcards and write a letter to someone special and actually send them a postcard or a letter with some stamps. So if you have any questions, please feel free to pop them through. I'll try my best to answer them for you. So while I wait for your questions to come through, I'll quickly just recap what we spoke about today. So Today we covered some vocabulary and phrases related to the post office, and we learned some useful phrases also related to the post office. Good to see you, Sylvia. Thank you, Teresa. No problem. Thank you, guys. Uh, if you haven't joined us on Facebook, why haven't you? Where have you been? Please, after the session, if you haven't joined us, click through to our Facebook and LinkedIn or YouTube page. Join all three of them if you haven't joined them. There's a lot of important, fun, interactive, useful information on there. So please feel free to join us. I'm going to send you guys the additional material quickly. So here's a great video you can go watch that relates to some useful phrases at the post office. Some more material for you to go and read, and then our Quizlet. So if you want to go learn some more vocabulary, there's a Quizlet for you to go and check out. And then thank you again for joining tonight. I appreciate it. I know it's a Friday afternoon, and thank you so much for you guys. I hope you had a good week. And even after a long week, I appreciate you guys joining in tonight. And if you could just stay on for a brief moment, I've just popped through the poll question. If you can tell me if you guys enjoyed the session tonight, if you find it very useful, learned some interesting phrases. Thank you very much. And then the next one quickly before you dash off. Would you like to participate in a similar event in the near future? Okay, great. Thank you so much, everyone. And that's it for tonight. So enjoy the rest of your Friday evening. And thank you so much for joining, and have a fabulous weekend. Keep well, guys. Goodbye.